morning and welcome to our Three Wise Men Grotto webinar. Feels a bit strange really talking Christmas when it's nice and it's all sort of sunny outside, but there we go. So as you can see, obviously we've got Matthew from Great Grottos at the bottom. Say hi, Matthew.
Hello.
We've got Dave from Shoot Systems up at the top there as well. So the idea of this webinar is just basically to sort of have a good chat about our experiences in the industry, sharing some tips and tricks, trials, tribulations, and yeah, hopefully just give you guys some good feedback and ideas to take away from this. And if anyone has any questions or anything during the webinar, feel free just to drop some comments in. We'll either answer them as we go, or if it's not too relevant to what we're talking about, we can answer it at the end of the webinar, where we'll have a lovely Q&A and you can ask these guys pretty much anything you want within reason. So probably to start off, the best way to do this is if we sort of introduce ourselves. So Matthew, if you want to say a little bit about yourself and sort of what Great Grottos do, and sort of, yeah, how you got into this crazy industry.
I got into this industry because my mother started the business 20 years ago, and then I joined 15 years ago, I think. And what we do is shopping centres and garden centres who would like to outsource the management of their grotto. We do that for them. So we find all the Santas, the elves, the costumes, toys. There's photography, just like yourselves, Shoot Systems, the booking system, and exciting things like insurance and training programs and payroll and all of this. And then customer service for all the customers coming to the grotto. So we see about 250,000 customers every year, and we'll do that again this year. And we
when you say customers, do you mean sort of people coming in and out through the doors, visiting the grottos that you run?
Yeah, so kids and adults.
Yeah. Okay.
And we've made every mistake possible over 20 years. So now the idea is that we're avoiding all of them, because a grotto is a liability. You know, if it goes really well, and that's what we're all planning for, then it's fantastic. And it grows every year and so forth, and it pushes out the client's brand name, but it's a liability because if something goes wrong, all the staff are perceived to be hired by the client. It's their reputation on the line. So the stakes are a little higher with grottos than they are many other events.
Definitely. Do you find that emotions are generally higher as well over the Christmas period, where people are stressed, busy, rushing, and you find this sort of, I suppose, how much experience you've got in other retail, I suppose, but
yeah. So when we do make a mistake, a very common phrase that we hear is, "You've ruined Christmas." Well, and it sounds like an overstatement, but what they really mean is, my child, I've got about 4 or 5 Christmases to meet Santa, and if you make a mistake with one of them, you have ruined the opportunity that year to go and have that pure experience. And it's very difficult to go and have it elsewhere. And yes, we might have given them the wrong aged gift. So in retrospect, you might not say we've actually ruined Christmas, but in the moment it does feel that way. So there's a moral obligation to doing what we do correctly.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be, but now it's about systems, isn't it? You know, follow the right systems, and you reduce your error margin to the smallest possible value. We used to have lots of rules in our company many years ago. We now have 2 rules. 1, everybody must help one another, and 2, everyone must care about the end product. If you don't do either of those, you can't work for Great Grottos. And if you do, and you join us under those principles, it's really nice to work with people, and everyone has the same end goal in common. It makes for a much smoother concept through Christmas.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it. It's a team game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So Dave, as well, if you want to tell us about yourself and sort of what Shoot Systems do and how you managed to get involved in Christmas.
Hi, I'm Dave. I formed Shoot Systems back in 2000, 2001. Prior to that, I've been involved in the IT industry for 15, 20 years in computer networking and software development. And I started a company and we got into photography and started doing grotto photography in the early 2000s. We soon came to realize that there wasn't technology out there to make it simple for elves to take photographs and give them to customers. So way back in early 2000s, we started developing software. 20 odd years later, we haven't quite finished it. We're still going, as happens with software.
Yep.
Our key goal here is to provide the technology required. We tend to be providing it into places like garden centres, places where they don't have the IT skills, technology skills themselves. They have the staff, they can run grottos, especially within garden centres. What they don't have is the ability to put photo systems in. So we offer just the technology service with what I call elf-friendly software. Touchscreen, shoot and print, just touch a button, takes the photograph, scan a card, go to a sales station, scan it, and deliver your product. And we deliver the technology before Christmas, pick it up afterwards, and we are fully involved every day, all day for support. In other parts of the business, we deal in photography systems, but what we're used to doing is being in live environments. And certainly in your grotto, at a busy time, Saturday afternoon, you've got 2 or 3 minutes to serve a customer, and the next one, and the next one. And you've got to be able to do that day in, day out, the whole time. So that's
similar to Matthew when he's sort of talking about trials and sort of trial and error, I suppose, with it, and figuring it out, what does work, what doesn't work.
And we've been through, I used to have a full head of hair out here, a bit like you years ago, and I've suffered the same problems through the running grottos for 20 years. It takes a toll. But yes, we've made lots of we've had lots of challenges on the way through. And even today, as we find whatever we're doing, there's always another challenge that arrives that you hadn't thought about.
You feel the same pressure on photography? Obviously, Matt's talking about sort of ruining Christmas as such. Where you're not customer facing, what problems do you have when, say, photography doesn't work? What's the pressure there in sort of in terms of trying to get it working, or where do you lose your hair?
Our particular pressure is about delivering the photographs and getting them to the customer at the sales station. So the pressure you get is if somebody gets to the sales station and their photo isn't there or the system isn't working, and people are expecting that. It's now an expectation. And same as Matt said, they're expecting their gift, they're expecting this. And in today's consumer age, everybody's expecting everything. They want it now, and it's got to work perfectly. And everybody and everything must be perfect, because if it's not, the whole world's falling apart. And the fact they might have got an age gift that's not quite right, that's a big problem. The photograph isn't quite there. The eyes are closed. There's red eye, whatever it's going to be. So it's just trying to make sure that you stay on top of everything and make it simple, because the staff are at the front of this, and what they don't want to be doing is dealing with problems. They want to be dealing with customers and giving them a nice, pleasant experience all the way through, and not have to worry about tech issues. But from our side, worrying about tech issues, just having the systems working.
You taking care of the tech, and them not having to worry about it. That's what you do. Great. So I suppose my next question, Matthew, is sort of what I suppose you bring to the table, and why someone that was doing a grotto themselves in-house and have their own staff, why is it a customer comes to you to get you to run the grotto? What's their normal sort of main problems, should I say, that someone would say, oh, I can't do this anymore? What is it that you bring to the table that, say, if you're running a grotto in-house, you couldn't necessarily do or wouldn't be able to do?
Well, it's basically one thing, which is that they know we'll protect their brand. And once sometimes they don't have that as a conscious realization. Sometimes they don't realize that they are really worried about outsourcing their grotto, and they don't realize that what they're concerned about in doing so is that someone won't take care of their brand. And that brand is both the grotto, but also the name above the shop, whether it's a shopping centre or a garden centre. So that's what they want from us, and also not to have to think about it. So I would be a terrible garden centre manager. I would be a terrible farm park manager and shopping centre manager. And they would be equally bad running a grotto, or realise that the reason why we'd be bad if we swap jobs is because we only see 20% of what people do. I only know about 20% of your job. I'd be guessing the other 80%. So when they try to run things internally, they realise there's about 80% of things they didn't think about, that there is work to do, and we just take it away from them. We're like sort of the AA of grottos.
I quite like that. Yeah, grottos. That's nice. So pretty much someone will come to you with a space per se and just say, look, I don't know what to do with it. I want to get people into the garden centre and run a grotto, but not knowing how to do it, which you would say is sort of their biggest problem that they come to you with.
Yeah, so a really great friend of mine is a London interior decorator, and she came to a realization. It's really fascinating. She said, Matthew, I used to go in and give the clients, these very rich ladies and men, 3 options on how to decorate their house, and so often it would go nowhere. And she then decided to go in and give one option, which was her opinion based on all of her experience, and her client base grew massively. And she's very successful in London as a result of it. We now do kind of similarly, which is we say, look, if it's us, this is what we're going to do with your grotto. That's our plan. We work for you. So if you want, it's not a partnership. So if you want to take our plan, change it and do it what works quite for you, then we'll back that up. But we give the clients autonomy, but we do tell them what we do.
What, for instance, if they wanted to say staff it and they said, I want you to bring in all your tech and your knowledge, but I want our staff to run the tills or something to save costs. Is that something you're open to, or with you, is it kind of all or nothing? I supply the lot, or
look, if you want to take away the hardest part and do it yourself, then that's fantastic. That's brilliant. I would like 10 clients just like that. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. So I take you obviously have no one that does that.
Nobody does that, no.
Yeah, makes sense. So the same question with you, Dave, I suppose. What would stop someone if I ran a grotto just saying, right, I'm just going to go out and buy my own camera and buy my own printer? What is it that you bring to the table with Shoot Systems that, or what's the biggest problem when they go, oh, I've tried to do photography and it didn't work? What's the problem that they give you that say you help solve?
It's the technology. It's the tech. It's how you go about matching people to their photographs. What I always say to somebody is, put yourself in the picture. Saturday before Christmas, it's 12 o'clock. Your grotto is full. You're putting through customers every 3 minutes. Can you tell me how your photo system's going to operate? How are you going to get photos from the camera to the computer? How are you going to deliver those photos to the customer?
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with red eye? How are you going to deal with the camera settings? Your cameras are on for 10, 12 hours a day. No camera battery, no flash battery will last that long. Are you going to keep swapping the power? How are you going to deal with all of those things? If you can give me the answer to all of those questions, then yes, go and run it yourself.
So would you say that size is a lot of the issue as well? Again, from my experience, you get customers that, if you've got a very small grotto with quite a small footfall, I'd imagine it's not unreasonable to say that you could get a self-sufficient system. But say where you've got 3 or 4 grotto rooms and then sort of 3 printing stations for them to go to, would you say that that's maybe where some of the that's where it starts to go wrong for people when they try and sort of do these big systems and not know how to do it?
Yes, there's 2 stages there. If you're running a very small footfall grotto and you're running one customer every 5 minutes, you can take a photograph from the camera. It can come up onto the computer. Most cameras can download to a computer. You can find it in Windows Explorer, hit print and hit a print and give it to them in that very slow footfall area, no problem. As soon as you start moving up and you've got more than one sales station and more than one grotto, you've got to match people to their photos. And when you're coming out to a sales station, you don't want to say there's 3 grottos until one's grotto 1, till one's grotto, till 2's grotto 2, till 3's grotto 3. First thing is you're saying to customers, there's more than one Santa. No, there isn't. Everything's got to see, you've seen Santa. So when you go out to a sales, doesn't matter. You've only been into one, there's only one grotto. As far, and I'm sure Matt does this as well, where you've got a multi-grotto setup, the customers never see all the grottos. They see one grotto. You're just ushered into that door and Santa's behind the door. And you have to keep that vision all the way through. So when you go out to the sales stations, it's not which grotto you're in, which Santa did you see. Your photo that you've had taken in that grotto has got to be available on all sales stations immediately. So as soon as you get to that level, you definitely have to have tech to do it. There's lots of ways.
Keeping the magic alive.
Yes, you've got to
keep the magic alive.
Magic alive. And certainly when you've got multiple grottos, multiple sales stations, there's no way that you could do that yourself. But if you are literally in a very small area, very small footfall, yes, you could take it on the camera, download the SD card and go and print it.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense.
So one other thing here, I've got one saying I often use is that you don't know what you don't know until you know, and then it might be too late. So you think you can do the Grotto systems, you think you can do it, you go and try it, then at midday on the last Saturday, you realize it doesn't work. It's too late.
We have a question actually that's actually quite relevant to what you're saying. And someone's asking about the photo quality and how you can ensure the highest quality of photo, which I suppose both of you could answer because you both sort of run photography systems within your grottos as well.
Max, want to go first, or do you want me to go? I don't mind.
Dave?
Okay. We're predominantly a photography company, so we understand photography. And the first thing you're doing is you are using a digital SLR camera. Nowadays, all the cameras take good photos. It's generally down to lighting. And there's lots of people with phones that take photos now with no flash. And they think, oh, they're great. But actually, if you look at the photograph, they're not very good quality. So in a grotto, to get the quality you need a flash. And that makes you can have your nice low light in a grotto, which is exactly what you want to take. And if you use a camera without flash, at a very high ISO rating, you can get a reasonable photo, but it's best to have a flash. But then the flash, you can't use the on-camera flash, as we found from bitter experience. You end up with red eye. We've tried to do low-cost systems, and we don't want to put flashes in. We'll just put a camera with the on-camera flash. But the flash is just above the lens, and the grotto is very dark. So as soon as that flash goes off, you get massive red eye in the kids, always. So you can't do it. So you then have to use a flash either on the camera, which is slightly higher, a professional flash, which is diffused, or you put flashes on the wall, any of those things. But it's a combination of all those together that make a decent quality photo.
Yeah, Dave's absolutely right. I would have said lighting, and you could almost leave it at that. I would say the low level lighting grottos, move away from them. Just have them normally lit. I mean, not bright, but just have them with warm lights. They don't have to be dark. It's a bit of a misnomer. There's lots of axioms in grottos. For example, such as the grottos need to be dark, Santa needs to be hidden, gifts need to be wrapped. When you start testing these things, they aren't necessarily true. I'll tell you something though, Dave, Dan. I'm consistently amazed by the following. We set up our cameras perfectly. We test them, perfect photos, perfect prints, really impressed, we leave. At some point at some of our grottos, the camera gets knocked, settings get changed, they need changing back. There's a period of time where we are selling degraded photos. I am shocked at the level of degradation that a customer's willing to purchase. Really dark photos that I personally would complain about and say, can we retake and fix this? But it takes maybe 20 families before we get a complaint that the quality needs to improve, and then obviously we do it, dial in or whatever. But it goes to show that yes, you want a really nice quality photo to match your brand aspirations, but honestly, it won't affect sales. I don't see sales drop when quality of image drops.
No, well, this is something, again, from working with shoot systems. I know that some people and photographers will be adamant that they need the best possible lighting, big flashes everywhere, and it can kind of ruin the whole aesthetics of a grotto if you've got too much stuff going on there and takes away from the whole visual aspect of it all. And we kind of found, I think, over the years that actually an on-camera flash, like as in just a little flash on top of the camera, does the job. And I don't think you'd sell it, exactly like you said, any more or less photos with these big massive lights or anything. It just has to look good enough. And in focus, I think, is a big main one as well that we've seen quite a lot is, as you said, when a camera gets knocked and it goes out of focus, we generally use cameras in manual focus because, again, where it's dark, it can't always autofocus on the subject. And that's the biggest one that we get is when someone knocks a camera and then it goes into manual focus. No one notices. You sell 20 pictures, like you said, of fuzzy heads, and you just think, how have people still bought this? But
do you let customers take their own photos?
Again, it's for us. We just supply the photography, so it's all down to.
Some grottos, it's not our control. Some grottos don't allow customers to take photographs. Others do. But invariably, people like prints. And that's
we've done both. It doesn't affect sales.
You're generally in your grottos let people take their own photos as well.
We promote it.
Okay.
We promote it, and it doesn't affect sales. I've got 3,000 photos of my children on my phone, I've got one on my desk that's printed, and if you chose, you know, what's more, the one on my desk is so valuable to me. One of the 3,000 in my pocket has no value to me whatsoever. I'll never look at it. They are not substitutes. Because I got a photo on my phone, it doesn't mean it's a viable substitute for a printed version. And particularly because so many photos are bought as gifts. Like, it doesn't matter how expensive that photo is. Where else are you going to find equitable value as an alternative gift for a family member for £9 that will match or exceed that of their grandson or whoever it may be with Santa? It's so valuable and so easy to get bought and done. It's personal.
Do you think it also helps where you've got sort of different things, as in key rings, baubles, and all these other different sort of things you can put it into as well? Would you say that helps assist sales using using sort of different ways to sell the photo, so it's not just a print anymore? And again, you can't get a key ring and bauble even on the high street. You can't just buy that stuff.
So sometimes I'm a bit rude and I laugh at I have a bit of a giggle at the photo pricing for some grottos, particularly grottos run by photographers, because they look like those menus at truck stops where there's like 400 things on there. If you're selling one type of thing, which is a photo, we have got it. There is a rough science, and it has been proven that you just want to give a concise number of options. Maybe it's 3 options, maybe it's 5. But how you show those options is sort of dependent on how many options you give. So our pricing is 3 packages, always 3.
You do the same for every single site then? So when you go on site, you have, these are your package, this is your pricing for 2024. Everyone uses this exact same sort of packaging structure.
Yeah, because if we go to 2 packages, we make less money, and if we go to 4 packages, we make less money. And it doesn't matter what you do with those packages. It's just a case of it's kind of exhausting making buying decisions. So there's a point at which, when you're talking about thousands of customers, that it has an effect on the micro stuff has an effect. It might be.
It takes longer as well, because obviously you're going to start building up queues from where you've got to take the key rings and baubles, cut them out. If there's more packages for people to pick from, they might take longer at the tills. Do you think that can also have an effect on your sort of end revenue from it as well?
So the forgotten element in photography is the elf behind the till. The elf is not normally incentivized to sell. So every sale they make is annoying for them, because it's work they needn't do. So they obviously want an easy to use system, but they don't want large orders, and they don't want the back-to-back. The last thing they want on top of that is a customer taking ages to decide. So the decision-making process got to be rapid.
You're saying, keeping it, there is a sweet spot in the middle here.
There is, yeah.
Of the number of packages that you sell, and making it quick and easy for the elves. By way of an example, actually, one of our customers, a garden centre customer, their sales weren't particularly good. And what they started to do is they incentivized the elves. I don't know, 50p a sale, whatever it was. They actually put a financial incentive on each sale, and that turned things around. There was a massive difference. As soon as the elves felt they could get something from selling and increase their pay, that appeared to make a big difference. And I think that client still does it today. It does.
I think the best bonus structure we've come across is you don't get anything for just selling one item, but you get a financial bonus for selling the package. Selling the items sell themselves, and you don't mind as the elf doing it. If I got a print off of one photo, it's just no drama for me. It's mostly chatting with the customer. If I got to do a package, I'm actually disincentivized if there's no financial bonus. I don't want you to buy a package because it's lots of work for me, and these I've got to do lots of products, and I've got to do it fast enough that I'm done before the next customer's coming, because they're going to start getting stressed and looking at me and thinking I don't know how to do my job. So this is all going through the elf's mind. So you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Do you have a view on, let's call it, cutting things out? So in other words, if you've got a package this is a discussion we often have, and I think people watching will be listening. If you do a print package, which is a 6x8 and two 6x4s or whatever, it's simple. The printer just chucks them out, you put them in a folder, and you give them to the customer. As soon as you start doing fridge magnets, key rings, baubles, snow globes, et al., each one that has its own cutter, do you have a view on whether that's a good or a bad thing, where you've got things got to be cut out and put into something to give to the customer?
Yeah, we're just not quite brave enough to say cut that out at home.
No, you do it yourself, but just the amount of time it takes, your package, if you put 2 fridge magnets and a snow globe in there, so 3 things have got to be cut out and put in.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Well, our package 3 has got 5 items, 2 has got 4 items, 3 has got 3 items. It's just really important not to have lots of packages with 5 or 4 items, because that just increases the chance that you're going to be burdening the elves with having to do 4 or 5 photography items every family.
Yeah, but yeah, cut it out, obviously, if you can.
Yeah, and you've got to do it. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a value. I say there is a value in providing those items. You can upsell. Yeah. You can take a 20p keyring and sell it for £1. So
yeah,
it's worth doing. There's a value in doing that. And just back to your point about prints. Everybody loves the print at home. I've still got things on the shelf at home now, which are photos from years ago that everybody still sees. People do love a print. It really has a value to it.
And I don't think we've seen any of the print prices drop over the last few years, as in, even though digital is becoming more and more accessible and everyone loves sharing stuff on their phones, what do you find with regards to people still purchasing the same amount of actual prints?
So why do people buy photography is all often skipped over, and I tell you, there are some counterintuitive reasons. I was talking to one lady who first opened my eyes to the fact that she said, I bought it because I felt guilty, and she felt guilty because she knew that photo would be deleted, and she couldn't really bear the thought of not purchasing it and leaving it to disappear and go, and that made her feel a sense of guilt. So I think sometimes, like, understanding the customer truly is and talking to them about why they're buying their photos is very revealing.
Yeah. Do you offer digital copies of photos? Because obviously I know it's something that Shoot Systems do, and it's quite big on request, where people, because obviously a lot of people, when they get a photo, one of the first things they'll actually do is take a photo of it on their phone to put on Facebook or Instagram or whatever their socials are as well.
We can't do it. We can, but we can't do it because you can't trust shopping centre Wi-Fi to be resilient enough to upload all those photos within a reasonable time frame. So we're on 4G and we can't really upload sort of 6 gig.
More support. Yeah. How do you deal with that, Dave?
We do allow uploads. There's 2 questions here actually on the uploads. One is about the perceived value of an upload. When a Grotto says, "Oh no, we don't want to do prints, we'll just give them uploads." And when you tell somebody you're going to charge them £10 for the uploads for their photos, they'll, or whatever, £5, £10 a value. They see very little perceived value in it when you try to sell it. Whereas if it's given as part of the package, you're giving print and you give them an upload as part of it, you can sell your print for £10, whatever it's going to be, and you get the free upload. If you're selling just uploads, it's often difficult. Oh, it's only digital media. Why are you charging me so much for it? It's very difficult to put a value on that. And in terms of the uploads, I'd have to agree with Matt. For all of our customers, at garden centres, we say that we want wired internet access. Where there's Wi-Fi, we need to have what I would call 24/7 Wi-Fi. We can't use the shopping centre guest Wi-Fi that you log on to, and after 2 hours it logs you off. It has to be a permanent Wi-Fi solution. And we did a very large garden centre project where they could only give us Wi-Fi, and therefore we said we can't offer you uploads for exactly the reasons Matt said, because we can't guarantee that we can upload them. You go to a shopping centre and you're on 4 or 5G. In a small grotto you can do it, but When you get too many images uploaded, you end up with data. You can end up with data problems, or your data card runs out, or something goes wrong, and it's very, very difficult. We've experienced this with 4G, 5G routers, and you can't guarantee the upload. Our systems will allow you to upload 24/7. So if you can't upload during the day when the Wi-Fi is not good at night, they'll just upload automatically anyway. So it'll keep going and uploading. But internet access is really important. But nowadays, everywhere has reasonably fast internet.
Also, I think that their camera phone photo is normally of sufficient quality to be a decent substitute for what we're going to upload. So I think it's a bit like he's almost trying to offer something that you have a substitute for. It's not like a path you want to develop that much. You want to go, look, here's the print. This is something you can't do, because nobody wants to go to Boots, like sending stuff, or log onto a website and wait for something to come in the mail. It's so dissatisfying.
How do you deal with as well? We've heard, again, speaking from different customers, I've heard quite a lot of people, maybe it's in smaller grottos, where they've got a problem with people. I take it you have a customer screen where they can view the photos. And we've heard quite a lot of people say about people getting their phones out and taking a photo of the little thumbnails on the screen and then just going, okay, no, I'm not going to buy anything. Is that a problem you've seen? Is it something you experience? And how do you deal with that?
You just say, go ahead and do it.
Again, same thing.
We're like if you start worrying about every pound in grottos, you'll explode. So you just have to go with the flow as much as possible. But that customer's never going to buy a photo. You know, if they want to photograph the screen on which their photo, I mean, fine, go ahead. It's a terrible, terrible photo. I'm sorry that you don't want to. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I think my next question as well is about the sort of financial implications of Great Grotto and sort of how it works, just to sort of understand. Obviously, you don't need to give me pricing as such, but how does it work? How does the site benefit? If I was a garden centre and I wanted to take you on board, how do I benefit financially from having Great Grottos? What is it a split fee with sort of, just how does it work? I'm quite interested to know.
So the first point is we work for you. It's not a partnership. Some people think that we're coming into a bit like you might get a sort of a fair coming in and we profit. But we're employed by you is the first thing. By the shopping centre or the garden centre. So what you want is what we have to do, and we plan it all out beforehand how we're going to run the grotto. So for example, the client sets the ticket price, and we work on a shrinking management fee. As footfall goes up, our management fee shrinks, maybe at around 2,500, 3,500 children, depending on the ticket fee. We don't charge the client anything. And then after that, we pay them a revenue share. And that's on the basis that we're keeping all the photography and all the ticket money. So
it's a share of everything, basically. So it's a share of the photography and the ticket sales, and you just give them a percentage of that after the footfall allowance, should you say?
Yeah, but like we don't want to run a grotto for a year. So for us, we spend a lot of time when people come on board with us, just sort of making sure that they're not going to have buyer's remorse. It's so awful if they go in January, I don't think we'll repeat this. But partly because you want to be wanted, but mostly because we put so much effort in to get the grotto off the ground, find the local staff, learn the centre, learn what the client wants, prepare everything they need, that we can no longer repeat it. And we're going to go somewhere else now. So we don't want that. So we look at it very long term.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And Dave, same for yourself. How does the client benefit from having Shoot systems coming in and running the grotto? Do you take all the profits and share it? Like how does your packages work?
Okay. As I said, we're tech. The way that we operate is on the assumption that you have staff that you're using. You have your own EPOS systems. You have your own sales systems. We supply just the tech. And when you're budgeting your grotto out, you need to know how much it's going to cost you. So the way that we work is that we supply a system, whatever size is required, and there's a fixed price for that system. And that includes a certain number of prints, which is pretty much the number of prints you would expect to deliver within that system. So that system goes in, 1 camera, 2 cameras, 3 cameras, however many sales stations, you get all that kit, and a certain number of boxes of media, all included in the price, so you know where you are. And that's
the price of that implicated by how much kit they have. Is it the amount of hardware?
Yeah, basically the number of sales stations, number of photo stations and sales stations you're putting in will determine the approximate number of prints you're going to do. So you know you've got a fixed price. All that equipment is then goes in, and it goes in with support, and also with replacement. One of the questions asked before is, "Oh, can I run my own? Do I run it with my own kit? Can I do it?" Yes, but what happens when the camera fails, or the computer fails, the scanner fails, or something fails? You're effectively renting the kit, and that's with full replacement of anything. So the printer goes wrong, you jam the printer, the elf's thrown it on the floor. It doesn't matter. You give us a call, and we will ship you a replacement part same day, depending on time. So you know that you haven't got to worry about anything going wrong with the equipment. It's all covered. And then there's support in there as well. There's somebody at the end of the phone all day, every day, and remote access support. Everything needs to, we say everything must go online so that we can dial in. And 99% of problems can be solved with either a power cycle or we log in and fix something. They're the two things. So for us, it's about simplicity. All the sales go through your sales systems. So we don't get involved in commission. We don't get involved in anything like that. It's simple. You take the system from us, you sell the prints, you take the money. So it's a different model. But then because we're not staffing it, we're not working that way, we don't have to work. It's a different model. So the benefit for us using a system such as ours with the kit is just, it's a no worry solution. Put it in, there's the money, it works. And there's somebody to help you the whole time.
Okay, that sounds great. So I think the last 10 minutes we'll sort of do some Q&As now and just see if anyone has questions that they want to message in. I can see another one here, which is probably more suited to you, Matthew, which is, how do you ensure each grotto you equipped lives up to the expectations of the customer?
Yeah, so that's brilliant. So the I often give clients this funny little formula that ticket price plus expectation must equal or be greater than takeaway plus experience. So, and that's just sort of like a fancy way of saying, don't forget about customer expectation. It's just totally different in every site. If you've never had a grotto before, there is none, and if you've had one before, you're tied to it, and you've got to respect it. How do you make sure it lives up to expectation? So yeah, I mean, it's a really, I suppose, it's a boring answer in the sense that you need to know what the customer's expectations, and then I would say it's quite easy at that point. However, it's really crucial to know that many customers leave the grotto, look in their hand, and decide whether they got buyer's remorse or not. So if that ticket was £10, is the gift in their hand worth £10? That's a evaluation that goes on at a lot of grottos when customers have left.
The gift is actually a really important part because that's their takeaway, and they feel like that represents almost the value.
Yeah, and then there's a psychological mechanism whereby we judge events. We place more bias in the first 2 minutes of the experience than the last 2 minutes of the experience. The middle tends to be a bit of a soup. So greeting customers and saying goodbye to customers are actually two really important mechanics. If you can just all imagine walking into a restaurant and not being greeted, it's a crappy feeling. When somebody immediately comes over and says, I'm really busy, I've just got to serve some other customers and I'll be with you, it's a little unprofessional, but it's way better than being ignored. So all elves being absolutely hot on people arriving and welcoming them, and then being charming and friendly when we say goodbye, massive and easy wins, massive improvements.
So customer experience is definitely massively up there with how the customer represents their expectations of that grotto as well.
From our side, it actually goes to what Matt said before. It's up to the elves, because we don't see what's going on. We can't see the quality of the photographs. It is very much down to the staff at the grotto to see if there's something that's preventing them from meeting customer expectations and then informing us. The photos are coming through. It's out of focus, it's not lined up, it's whatever it's going to be. By then, the staff telling us, we will then react immediately to fix the issue. So we're secondary to the actual customer experience, where the elves at the garden centre are responsible for that, or the manager at the centre. So it's up to them to come back to us. But we want to make sure the customers get the best experience possible, always.
So that actually goes quite well onto the next question, Dave, of basically how can you ensure full support, and what happens if kit breaks down? It's the busiest Saturday before Christmas. You've got 40, 50, however many grottos you run. How can you guarantee that a site's going to get that support and they're not going to be left floating going, oh, nothing's working, and taking the full brunt of what your systems aren't doing?
I'll give you two answers to that. One is, for the larger grottos, we'll tend to put some spare kit on site. There'll be a spare printer, there'll be a spare scanner, spare bits and pieces. So if something's gone wrong, then they've got something to replace it with. And also, you've got multiple grottos and multiple sales stations, and the system is designed so that if one thing fails, all the others still work. So there is a level of resilience there. Secondly, our experience shows that 99% of any problems we're going to have in the grottos will occur earlier in the season as the system and the staff get bedded in. By the time you actually get to the busiest 2 weeks of Christmas, everybody fully understands the system and they know how to use it. And the user errors that normally occur
All kind of ironed out.
Have been ironed out. But we have full remote access to every single computer. We can dial in from wherever we are. It doesn't matter what time of day. There's somebody we can dial in on the phone, and we can look at the system. There's at least two people on support at the end of the phone, and most things can be dealt with. It's very, very rare that we have a problem that we haven't encountered 30 times before, such as people fiddling with cameras and moving them from manual focus to autofocus to manual focus, turning the camera off P mode to N mode, all those things. So it's about being there for them.
The experience of, I suppose, the people that you have at the end of the phone. I suppose that's the key, is having someone that knows exactly what the problem's going to be and how to fix it as quickly as possible. Is always key. I take it you don't have to do many site visits to fix stuff. Is that something you do? Or
no, we try very hard not to visit sites. We shouldn't need to. The only time you end up visiting a site is when you get a phone call on a Saturday that a printer's failed, and you need to get Sunday morning, whatever. But generally, we find that we don't need to visit site. Very rarely do we actually visit site. I'm sure Matt's got some words to say on this as well.
Only to say that look, if you used Shoot systems or Great Grottos, the only thing that's going to stop your photography system is going to be events that no company could cope with. Just simply a piece of hardware dying. There was no way of forecasting that. There was nothing wrong with its manufacturing per se. Something happened inside it, and one's coming the next day. Our customers, so long as they get forewarning, do not complain about the photography system being down. If they find out during the visit, they don't like that. So we send out a text message or an email to let them know, and then the elves tell them, really sorry, and promote personal photography again. And when the elf is going to the effort of holding the camera and taking the photo, the customer's touched, because they just like to see that we are showing that we care and we've got a solution in place, albeit not what they'd hoped for, and they're fine with that.
Yeah. And I suppose from your perspective as well, when it comes to revenue, if the photo systems are down, it only implicates or impacts you, I suppose, rather than, I suppose it does your client a little bit, I suppose, but you would take the brunt of the financial implications of it being down.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, what we're always going to do is align ourselves with the clients. All our agreements are based on footfall. We're not going to base it on photo spend. We're based on happy customers who want to come back for 5 to 8 years. So the client's not affected at all, but the client's affected if the customer's unhappy, and that's what we've got to prevent.
Yeah.
Just on that point, was opening up a little bit. You said about customers keeping with customers. Most of our customers have been with us for years, as your customers will have been. And by providing them with the service they want, they'll come back to you next year, year after year, because they know they can trust the solution that you're delivering.
Yeah.
So I was going to say the sort of final question, I suppose, is about photography, but about Have you got any stats or anything, information you can give to people that are maybe considering doing photography, whether it be with us, with anyone, about how many people actually buy photos in comparison to how many people go through the door, and sort of what the stats on that are, as people, may be interested just to sort of know if they're tinkering with the idea and trying to work out whether it's financially viable. What are the kind of stats that you guys see on photo purchasing? Would be quite interesting to know.
Well, I know it from the perspective of, I know how many people go through our grottos and how many photos we sell. So on average, 82% of families will buy a photo. A lot of customers are coming back because they got the bauble from last year at that grotto. They want the bauble this year at that grotto. It's a weird retention tool. So they actually want, it's strange, customers do actually want a repetitive experience every year going to grottos, not just because chronicling it is a joy, but also because it's a big risk. When you've gone and had a great experience one place, do I now go somewhere else and hope it's as good when I can just book this place again and I know it'll be great?
It's like going to your favorite restaurant, isn't it? You know what you want off the menu. You know that you're going to get the good experience.
Yeah. So sometimes it's the same experiences as well. So we have a popular one where you plant a magic bean before you see Santa. He's got a sprouting chamber, and during the visit he turns it into a 1 foot tall real mini Christmas tree. We do that one year. The clients are reticent about repeating the event. They take it out and they just get customers constantly saying to them, why aren't you doing magic trees again? They want to put their child through the same experience. Grottos are more like Chessington World of Adventures than they are what you think, because when I go to Chessington, I don't expect different rides, it wouldn't occur to me to complain that everything's the same. When I'm going to go to the grotto once a year, I'm happy doing the same thing I did last year, and we don't have to be rebranding them, rebuilding them, offering different types of photos. It doesn't have to be a different experience. It could be the same.
You gave a very interesting stat there about how many people buy prints. One of our clients asked us yesterday to give them some stats on their sales last year, and I'm going to read here. The percentage of sales for that custom was 85.71% of the custom. So that is real stats from one customer yesterday. So we concur that if you've got a decent photograph and a good sales process and good friendly staff, you're going to sell photos to 85% of your customers. And that's an upsell in terms of your revenue and your margin. Howsoever it's financed, there's a lot more margin in those photos than you can get a lot more out of it. Actually, maybe you can I'll say something here about how much extra margin you can see in the overall experience. So we only see the photo margin, but then if you're looking at how much a grotto costs, if you're selling a £10, £15, £15 photo package, that can add 50-60% to your margin.
Yeah. So
do you do any sites, Matthew, by the way, without photography, or is that just part of your package? They all have that element.
We don't do them without photography, because if your grotto is so small that it's not economically viable to have photography, you're too small to outsource it.
Yeah.
And I've had clients say, please, we want to use you, and I say, look, it's not the right decision. And then a couple will go ahead and do it and ultimately realize I was correct. So what was I going to say about photography?
Margin increase.
The pricing, yeah. So if the grotto is under £8 per child, 50% or more of the grotto revenue will be photography.
What you say? So 60.
So basically, if it's about £7 to £6 to see Santa, and I look at the revenue in January, half the revenue or more than half the revenue will be made up from photography sales. So it's so significant that and that figure of 85% is only half the calculation, because you might want to sell less photos for more money, and that might be more profitable. We're trying to fine tune it to the last 1 or 2%. So I know that. But if I want to give my elves a break, you know, I'd put up the price of photography, wouldn't I, a little bit, and sell a little bit less, and it'd be easier life for them. So there's that option as well.
Definitely. Okay, I think that's a really nice place to sort of bring it in, unless there's any other questions. I'll just have a little look. Yeah, I think that's it. And I really hope we've sort of given everyone a good overview and some bits to sort of take away from that. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, Matthew, and Dave.
Nice to meet you guys. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, as always, we wish you seems weird saying we wish you a good Christmas this time of the year. Wish you a successful Christmas.
132 days.
132 days, yeah. I love that. I need one of those countdowns. Is that till it ends or starts?
Till Christmas Day, and then then the clock blows up. There's another one by my recruitment team that takes them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think I need one that finishes at 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve. That's when we can finally put our feet up and have a whiskey.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's great to see you guys. All the best.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.